We've been invited to nDreams' honorary Guildford studio. We're going to be talking to some of their developers about what they've done so far in their careers and the exciting stuff that they're working on now. Hi, thanks for joining us. This is so exciting, and I know we're going to get into it, but you are probably the freshest game dev I've ever had the privilege to interview. So
that's
exciting
amazing
stuff.
Oh, definitely so.
Very, very exciting. So what was your professional, educational background prior to kind of getting to 6 months ago?
So I have worked in pharmacy for 8 years.
Whoa,
right?
That's quite a step over, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. So not very similar fields at all in this regard. No. I worked in pharmacy. I worked for my uncle's pharmacy, and my uncle owns like a few independent branches. So I'd worked there since too long ago. But in around about 2019, I really wanted a change in career. So I went to the University of Wolverhampton, and then I graduated, got a first-class degree, and now I'm here.
And what was your degree in?
Computer games design.
Brilliant. Design. Fab.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Because when I was young, universities didn't do stuff like that. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And what was your experience of kind of joining the nDreams team? What kind of drew you towards
What drew me towards nDreams was that when I was looking for any company that makes games similar to what I wanted to make games as, I found nDreams, and the games that they make are just so in line with what I wanted to make.
You say they,
anyway.
You can say we now.
I can say we now, that's true. I am part of them.
Yeah,
so,
you are.
So,
that's
yeah.
cool. Okay, so it was very much a kind of, obviously you're a fan of playing video games, and you had your niche that you really found yourself kind of going towards and found a studio that fits. That's really cool. That's really cool. Okay, so what does your role at nDreams, just give us kind of an overview of what it is and what a day kind of looks like for you.
So I am a junior level designer. And so what a level designer is essentially, it's like a virtual architect, which makes it sound better than what it is, but it is a virtual architect. So we design the world to be fun. So we sort out how the buildings and the environment is placed and shaped to continue the flow of the game, as well as placing in enemies and stuff like that to make sure that the game is still entertaining, but not too difficult for the player to quit out. But have you ever played a game where you thought you were really good at, and you're like, this is amazing, I'm like this close to dying and I'm really good and I'm really enjoying it? You're not. It's because of us.
You suck. Yeah. We've made you good.
We made you think you're amazing. That's my job. And if you think you're amazing, then I've done my job perfectly.
I like that. That's cool. Because there's this belief that level designers just kind of wave their hands around a bit and that this will work and maybe put it there. But it's actually, it's a science. It's, not an exact science. But the balancing of a game is just as important as the creating of that game, right?
Most definitely. If a game isn't balanced, it's like if you ever go into a house and every house next to a door, there's always a light switch right next to it. You're never going to question that there's a light switch there until there isn't a light switch there. So with level design, you're never going to notice it's good level design until it's bad level design.
Yeah, that's it.
So
that's a good way to look at it. And actually, coincidentally, I've recently become convinced that all of the light switches are on the outside of my rooms. I don't know where it's come from, but I keep reaching for them on the wrong side. So maybe I need a level designer to come in and sort that out for me.
Bad architecture.
My brain. Yeah, thank you. So, average day, what do you find yourself, is it a lot of creative meetings? Do you find that you're, having to kind of really input day to day and getting things kind of done?
What I'm very fortunate about my position in nDreams is the fact that I get involved in a lot of meetings, and I get involved in a lot of high profile meetings because we're very fortunate here where no opinion, regardless of where you are in the pecking order, is disregarded because you're lower down in the pecking order or because you're a graduate or a junior. So I've been involved in quite a lot of meetings about creative decisions, about how the game's going to work, how the game flows, how any kind of solutions to any kind of problems that may arise, and it's brilliant like that. So that's most of my mornings are just in meetings trying to make sure that the game is good, make sure that everything's flowing, everyone's still up to date and everything, even though I'm still a junior level designer. And the rest of my day is taking care of those following up with those things, like making sure that those actions have been taken and making sure that the game is fun and the game is working the way we want it to work.
Yeah. And I guess as you get closer to a point of launch, those tiny tweaks that can be made, you know, on a Monday, by a Tuesday, you've got to sit down and just go through everything again to make sure that it's all, you know, working as it should and nothing's broken, and also that it's enjoyable, ultimately.
100%.
Yeah, it's... I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't know how you guys do it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Easier than pharmacy.
I'll give you that. Yeah, it probably is. You're just having a break at this point.
I am.
Nice. So what's your favourite part of being on the nDreams team, especially as, you know, thinking not so long ago that you were doing something so very, very different?
Yeah. My favourite part is the best experience that I've had here was about 2 or 3 weeks after I had joined. There was a level that I'd just been working on where we had just placed in all the new enemies in, made sure the mission flowed well, and we had a user test, and there was a user test in America, so there were people from America playing something that I had just made, and just watching these people just do everything and enjoy the game, just the smiles on their faces that and it was because of me and the stuff that I had done.
I love that.
It was phenomenal after only being here for like a couple of weeks, and just like you said a few months ago, this was a completely different career for myself. So it was amazing.
I mean, what's so exciting is how excited you are about what you do. Like, it's, you know, we do get to, you know, it's difficult for a lot of developers to sit back and go, wow, look at what I do for a living. You know, look at what I'm achieving. Look at all of the people that are enjoying something that, you know, I'm just sitting at my desk and placing these things, and then there's someone that's really loving it at the other end. It's easy to lose sight of that, Q. Never, ever lose sight of it, because it's so important. And that kind of spark of excitement that you have is what you're instilling in you know, millions of people.
Definitely.
It's brilliant.
I've been told that a lot. Don't lose it. I'm quite scared of what's going to happen soon.
You'll be fine. Nothing bad has ever happened in the games industry, ever. You'll be just fine. No, it's cool. It's just, I mean, I guess I was talking about this a little bit with Nathan earlier, but I've spent a lot of my career, and I've been here a long time. Not that long, not as long as some people in the room, I imagine. But I've spent a lot of it trying to convince developers to sit in the seat that you're sitting in, to sit in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, in whatever capacity, and be, you know, as transparent as we can be about what we do and why it's exciting, etc., etc. And not everyone runs at it like you have, and not everyone kind of has that real passion for, I'm changing things, I'm doing something that's making other people really happy, and that's really cool. So
it's the rewards that you see after, like the smiles on people's faces, it makes it worth it. Like the fact that you know you've caused that, like that was my whole inspiration for going into making video games, was because I want to make people happy. I want to make them enjoy the stuff that I've been working on, and you see it so much, and it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And
you guys are doing great work in really getting games into people's hands that are, you know, different ultimately, and giving them different experiences. It's cool. It's cool. So, what is your favourite thing about working in the games industry? And if you could comment on Guildford in particular.
Sure. I don't think I can really comment on Guildford because I'm not really from around the area.
I mean, you're one of us now, we'll work it out. It'll be fun.
My favourite thing about working in the games industry, it's the people that I've met here. There are some very amazing people that I've met, especially just in this company. And just when I've gone out to other parties and met other people from other companies, it's amazing how much in common we all have. And it's phenomenal. I've made so many good friends since I've been here. Like I said, barely been 6 months. And it's been like, I made friends like last for ages, I hope. So
absolutely. No, they will. They will. I mean, I took stock recently, and I think the majority of my friends now are all industry.
That's amazing.
It just happens, right? It's not like I made that's it, guys. If you don't work in games, you can't be my friends anymore. But you just end up, you know, there's a group of people that understand, and you want to talk to those people, you know, and it really kind of helps with creativity as much as decompressing.
Definitely so. But it's not just the stuff that we have in common that's just games. There's so much other things that we all have in common too, and it's amazing to meet so many people, especially with nDreams. There's a lot of diversity here. There's people from like all over the world, and it's amazing to see like how much think people focus too much on the differences. It's nice to see how much we all have in common and how much we can all get on.
And to have a, you know, when you're working with a team as well, and you have that rapport, and you all get on incredibly well, and you're friends outside of, you know, work colleagues, but that helps with the overall drive. What you're all running towards, you know, becomes the same thing, because you understand the people that you're working with and how they would translate certain things, or, you know, kind of explain them. So yeah, it helps with the overall bonding, means a better game at the other end.
100%.
I think.
If you're working with friends, it doesn't really feel like work.
There's that too.
Also, it doesn't feel like work if you're playing games as well, but that's a different thing.
I remember, you know what, when I first joined the industry, that was the hardest thing for me to get my head around.
Yeah.
Like, hang on a second, I don't have to turn this off if my boss walks past. What? This is amazing.
More often than not, they'll join in with you,
Yeah,
which is
that's
amazing.
it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So let's go to, I mean, we wanted to talk about the main difference between working at nDreams and places that you've worked previously. But I might be able to even point those.
Yeah, they're a bit obvious. There's a lot different there. There's consequences aren't as severe here.
Yeah, there's that.
That's a very big load off my mind.
Yeah, you're making people happy rather than potentially putting them in dire medical situations. Yeah, not that I'm sure you were very competent.
I was, but it's a different
Scary.
level. Yeah, it's not as stressful, which is wonderful.
That's cool.
The people that I've met here, very different breed of people too. Like I said, made a lot of good friends here, and it's been amazing. Like, I met a lot of different people here too, which has been wonderful. But yeah,
different worlds.
Completely different worlds.
Completely different worlds.
They are.
That's cool. And how would you say your work at nDreams kind of complements your life ultimately? So working in games, do you find that when you're home playing a video game that isn't, heaven forbid, made by nDreams, do you find that you're taking notes now? Do you find that the way you're approaching playing games is different?
I think I've always been like that, though, to be honest, because I've wanted to be a level designer since I was very young.
Amazing.
So I have always been, any kind of game that I've always played, I've always wanted to know why it behaved the way it did, and like how it acts, and why is it fun and stuff like that. So that much hasn't really changed, but it's nice to know that what's changed a lot for me is that now, because I've seen the processes, I've seen the people that work on those processes, so when there are bugs and big errors in games, I now understand the complications that those people have faced to get to those points, and why those bugs still exist at the end of the game. Because it's
you
natural.
have to triage, right? You can't do everything, and you know, as I'm sure most people realise, when you're dealing with brand new technology and you're dealing with lots of people coming together to do one thing, there's going to be bugs, there's going to be issues, and that deadline is not going to move unless you're very, very lucky. And even then, I don't believe in moving deadlines. I say we stick with it and do our very best. But yeah, you can't fix everything. You're human, and there's only, you know, however many members of the level design team, and working 24 hours a day is not cool.
No,
so it's got to be done in a reasonable and rational way, I think, bugs. Yeah, absolutely. So that was really interesting, though, what you said, that you've always thought like this, that you've always played video games and thought, how does that work? What do you think was the first game that really sparked that for you?
So for me, it's a bit cliche. Actually, I don't know how many people have said this, but it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, right?
I don't think anyone has so far.
Okay.
I think you're good.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, awesome.
Original.
Right. That was the first game that I really played. Like, I grew up playing like Sega Mega Drive games, never really played much online stuff. And since I played Modern Warfare 2, I really fell in love with first-person shooters. Loved the whole community aspect of it, loved everything about it, but I was really engrossed with how well designed those levels were. Because it had to be balanced, not just from one person's perspective, but for 12 people when they're playing together. And you can't have, because if there's a bad map, people blame that map, and no one wants to choose that map. There are good maps, and I want to know why they were good. And it wasn't just due to just like sight lines that people had, like the advantages that they had, because they could see different parts of the map. Like, it was wonderful, the cover that they had placed behind, and just absolutely loved it. And I really wanted to break down as much of Call of Duty games as I could. So I learned out like how the spawning system would work, how the guns worked, and what like all this stuff, because I really was just so engrossed and enamored with the game. And I was like, I want to make this. And then from there, it was just like I started playing Counter-Strike, and then Counter-Strike was just like very similar kind of
I mean,
thing.
once you play Counter-Strike, you're in.
Yeah,
you might as well just step straight into a studio. You're one of us. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I am now. So yeah, it's amazing. Found out how the levels were designed and how quickly some of them were designed. Some people, like Dust 2, was designed on a napkin in about 5 minutes. And the guy just drew something, he's like, okay, that works.
That'll do it.
It's still like one of the most iconic maps in any video game that there are.
And it's when you find those and they work so well and they're so enjoyable that you then realise, wow, this has to be a skill. You have to have, a real understanding of traversing a space as a player in order to create those spaces.
I've always been quite fascinated with architecture anyway, because one of my close friends is an architect, so I've had a lot of good conversations. But what I enjoy a lot about my job compared to his job is that I'm not bound by reality. So I can do what I want. If physics don't work, physics don't have to work.
Doesn't matter.
Video games.
And you can shred those buildings without feeling bad. That's always a fun part of it too.
It's amazing.
Fab. Okay, so I know that we've got the nDreams Academy, and your route into games was pretty. This is what I want to do. Here's a course that's going to provide it, and here I am ready to start work. nDreams, thank you very much. But what advice would you give to anyone out there looking to get into games that maybe hasn't had that epiphany yet? And do you think the nDreams Academy is an easy way for people to?
I think that the nDreams Academy is really useful. It's helped a lot of people. I'm slightly a part of it myself, but I've seen many other people that are a part of it and how beneficial it was for them to get into it. The best advice that I can give for any interview was that you need to show that you're able to communicate, because it's very important in every aspect of life. If any idea that I have in my head, if I can't show it to you and you can't visualize it the same way that it is in my head, we're not on the same page. We can't communicate well. We don't know what's going on. We're going to end up with two different things.
Yeah, the game will suffer, ultimately.
100%. So that is my biggest thing. I used to take some public speaking classes called Toastmasters, which is very fortunate, very helped me a lot with how I can come across and how well I can articulate my words to make sure people understand what I'm saying. I would highly recommend that. Even in my interview, that was the thing that got me in. They asked me a lot about what stuff I had worked on and like what games I had worked on while I was at uni and how I did everything. That was fine, but it's a different thing. You can't really teach enthusiasm. You can't teach how much drive some people have. Yeah. But you can teach someone how to code. You can teach someone how to level design. You can teach someone how to do art. You need to be passionate about your job too. Yeah. You need to want it, and you need to definitely be able to communication as well. It's very effective.
And I suppose with game dev, what we're dealing with is we need to be able to communicate our successes as much as our failures, and you have to have a really good kind of not an easy way of explaining it, but if you can stand in front of your team and say this, we failed at this, and this is exactly why, and have everyone walk away going, okay, I get it, right, let's work on doing this thing next. It's going to make a huge difference.
It's not just communication through words as well. There's many other different so there's UI communication just through pictures, just to make sure people understand. Communication through level design. So just the world itself needs to be able to tell the player where to go without the player ever having to think.
And without them realizing that it's telling them where to go. Yeah.
Just it's like the breadcrumbs, just like a trail and leading people to get it.
I could have been a game designer. I couldn't. I'd like to think I could. Q, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and never lose it, mate. That spark in your eyes I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.